again, it's sort of reducing and eliminating. Just the idea here of using the packaging that your product comes in and then converting that product. This is the reuse bit. So this is reusing the box in which your laptop comes in. There's instructions in there that says, you know, refold it this way, and it becomes a carrying case for your laptop. Same idea, you buy a t-shirt or a shirt, and it comes to you in a pack, and on the back it tells you how to make a coat hanger out of it. These things are sort of more, I mean, I can't see them taking over the world, but they do get you thinking about completely different ways of operation and ways in which you might be able to do things. The basin on the left is made from recycled sort of material. This one's sort of interesting. You know, it does away with all the plumbing. So, you know, you wash your hands, it looks sort of interesting. But, you know, you have no pipes or anything under the... So, you know, I'd say that was an eco-design. And of course, there's lots and lots of different ways of reusing the material once you get it back. And these are just sort of a few of them. Taking old rags and making chairs out of them. And high-density polystyrene, which is probably the main material that you get through recycling. You can do all sorts of interesting designs, you know, from the very ordinary to the very sort of interesting. And that's someone's idea of making waste bin out of just waste paper. This, and we're getting towards the end, I know I've probably gone over a bit. Bicycle, the other side of design is thinking about the whole system, not just the actual product itself, but a thing called product service systems. I don't know if you've heard of it, but the idea there is that if you can get people sharing products, then you don't need as many. So for instance, the drill argument is if you have 5 minutes use of the drill a year and that happens down your street, if there was some neat way in which you could share one drill between everyone, you know, we wouldn't have as many drills. And you can think of that in terms of washing machines and other appliances, and certainly things like bicycles and cars and stuff. So service systems is I think a very interesting development that may help to reduce product input. Threw in a building one because I didn't have any other building ones, but greening the environment through ways of this sort. This is a city in Japan where there wasn't very much in the way of parks and things. High tech, we talked about high tech ways of doing this, and flexible solar panels can be used for all sorts of things, and really exciting ways. New materials, mix of bamboo and silk gives you a fantastically strong, interesting new material. I think I was talking to Simon about hemp before, but this is another way. You know, maybe mixing hemp with some other material gives it a really interesting quality. A lot of those sorts of developments, I think, will make a lot of difference. Wave power, there are really interesting designs. If you're going into design into the bigger sense and you're looking at energy production, then there are very interesting experimental techniques to develop power, wind energy, floating these big balloons up the top where you get more wind, and they're off the environment so that they're not troubling the environment so much. They're up in the air, and they're generating power at a much higher area. I'm not too sure about that weird looking wind thing. I can't quite see how that would work. Now, if all else fails, I'm coming right to the end now, but if all else fails, then maybe, you know, if no one does anything and we're really stuck with a very serious problem, then we really do have to take horrible emergency action, and maybe design can even help in that. This particular shot is just of plankton bloom off the coast of the UK, But the idea is that you may have heard of this, where you can fertilise the seed with iron filings, which then encourages plankton to grow, which captures a huge amount of carbon. And if that sinks, part of the problem with the sea is that you're getting the carbon capture on the top. It's not being stored as well as it might be, and it's getting to the point where you can't actually put any more in. It's pretty well full, and iron filings may help to capture a lot more. So that's like a fairly dramatic approach to try and sequence more carbon. Someone's come up with this idea of an artificial tree. These things are huge, 1,000 foot or something, and they would capture a large amount of carbon, CO2, I think 9,000 tonnes, I think, a year, I think the figure what I had. And then you have to dispose of it. But, you know, it's an idea. Maybe it would work, maybe not. And then finally, the idea of trying to protect the amount of heat that comes onto the Earth. You know, give it like umbrellas. But these are tiny, tiny little discs, like mirrors, that are shot up into space by their millions, and they can be guided by these little gadgets on them, and they can deflect maybe 1 or 2% of the sunlight coming on the Earth. So you wouldn't notice it, but it would get us down to sort of levels where we hopefully help us to cope in the longer term. I mean, so, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that design can help in the very sort of minutiae, as it were, of the products that we make, but it can go right through to coming up with grand schemes of saving the world. That's what designers like to think. So, that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions or whatever. Thanks very much.
Thank you.